So listening skills are absolutely important. It seems that, first of all, what we have to do is, when we're listening, when we're in these situations of pastoral counseling, someone is coming to us for counsel, first thing we need to do is we need to listen to them. We need to hear what's going on. So listening is the first important part of it. What we need to understand in terms of listening is that words are symbolic. Every word that you choose means something to you. So now my challenge is understanding those words and what you mean by them and how you are in this encounter. So listening isn't just listening to the words, but it's also seeing you. Follow me? Right? A person's body language can often tell us a lot about a person, right? When they're sitting in certain ways, it can tell us how open or not they are. Look at their face and you can get an idea of what's going on inside. And so listening isn't just listening to the words, but it's picking up all the visual cues and also the feelings that are behind those words. So we need to listen to every detail. Every word is symbolic, I say. Every word says something. By choosing certain words over other words, you're telling me something about how you think and how you feel. Listening skills, eye contact is important in listening, because if you're talking to me and I'm looking over here, we all have that feeling, right? We'll be in the middle of a conversation and suddenly someone's looking at their cell phone and what's happening. You're like, you're not listening to me. No, I'm listening to you. Right? The importance of eye contact, simply let them know that I am focusing on you right now. Yes, my cell phone's going off, let me turn off my cell phone, but I'm listening to you. Eye contact is important. And other listening skills we'll sort of unpack as we go through this evening, simply because there are other authors that we're going to be talking about. People like Stephen Covey, who has an entire section simply on active listening skills. So instead of summarizing them right now, let's include it when we come back to Stephen Covey a little later. So part of pastoral counseling is listening, but then the other part is, okay, you're looking for something from me, often, right? Pastoral counseling, what are people looking for? They're looking for some sort of counsel or advice or perspective. Okay, I'm coming to talk to you about this. After I talk to you, now what? I'm looking for something. What do we do? So part of the challenge is, one, listening to that person. Two, okay, now what? What do I say? How do I respond? The challenge is, while I'm listening to that person, I'm already trying to think, okay, as soon as they shut up, what am I going to say? Am I now listening to that person? Follow me? I'm no longer listening to you. I'm thinking about what I'm going to say as soon as you become quiet. Have we all had that experience?
That's the way we are as humans, though.
That's how we are as human beings.
It's like we're kind of already forming how we're going to respond prior to them finishing what they have to say. And it's like one of the hardest things to unbreak, so to speak, because it becomes
sometimes you have to say, if you just shut up for a minute, then I'll tell you.
It's part of dialogue, right? Dialogue comes from a Greek word, logos. Logos means word, right? Dia, two, right? There are two people speaking in a dialogue. A monologue is just one person. This is not a monologue. This is a dialogue. Okay? I'm coming to you. I'm going to talk and I'm going to listen. Okay? So the challenge is, how do I listen to that person's every word and focus on that person, but then be able to respond? Not going to lie to you, that is not always easy. In fact, as a priest, as a minister, I find that it's often a difficult thing, because that person is coming to you with all that they are saying and all that they're feeling, and then you're left with, for me, sometimes I'm in the presence of holy mystery in those moments. It's like, oh, I mean, after you hear that, what do you say? Dang, that's a lot you're going through. What can you say that adequately, how to respond to people who are in situations where they are hurting, in pain, looking for guidance, etc. I mean, that can often be difficult.
Cuss and whatever they want to say.
Let them cuss, say what they need to say.
Are you ready now? When they're quiet,
And then when they're quiet, then it shifts to you. Vincent?
Well, how would one overcome the eye contact? Because in the 30 years that I've been in the nightclub business, I get that all the time. You're not listening to me. But I'm having a conversation with you, but I'm also watching what my bartender's doing, what my waitress is doing. If there's something going on the dance floor, if there's something going on with somebody else, but I am listening to you. But how can you relate? What tools are there to go back to that eye contact?
That is a good question, because you say that you're listening to that person, right? But what that person is saying is they're talking to you, and they're talking to you, and you're looking over to the bar. You're looking. Is it okay? What's happening? That person gets the impression.
The impression that you're not
that
listening.
you're not listening.
But you come
As
back
human
with
beings-
the answer that they're answering, but they're like, you're still not listening.
That's tough. Because as human beings, we find it really difficult to multitask, really. I mean, different people have unpacked this. Is there really such a thing as multitasking? Because really what happens is we disengage from one activity and do another activity, and then we come back. There is no multitasking, really. I'm not really listening and making sure the bartender is doing it at the same time. I'm really doing one or the other. That's a tough one, Vincent. If you're telling me that you're both listening to me while you're keeping all these balls in the air, I don't know that you're really listening to me.
You have to find out the environment where you go to.
Marcella, loud voice.
We've gotten to the point that all we do now is multitask. That's what we do. And when somebody says, oh yes, I am listening to you, but I'm doing this at the same time, no, not really, because you're only giving like maybe 33% of your time to that person, as opposed to you're doing other things over here, that you're giving your time over here and your time over there. So you can't really say that you're giving that person your 100% of your time, because that's a lie when you're doing two other things at the same time.
So I'm hearing that active listening is really becoming a rare art.
It is.
How many times do we around the dinner table simply sit down in the seminary? We had this rule where we would sit down with one another for 45 minutes for dinner every evening. By the time that we sat down until we rang the bell at 6:45 for announcements and whatever closing part was 45 minutes together. How many of us spend 45 minutes just talking to one another at dinner? Follow me? Because the moment that you turn on the television set, for instance, where's the focus? Is it on us and the conversation we're having? No, it's on the television.
Are you choking?
Active listening. I'm trying to lost art.
The key is not to turn on the television.
Really?
You're not here for.
It seems so. It seems. It seems the moment you turn on that television, the focus goes somewhere else rather than on that relationship.
But I want to watch the news.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Yes, that's true.
Isn't that great? Relationships draw us into all sorts of challenges, right? How do you, by that person saying that he or she wants to watch the television during the meal, that tells me something.
But I'm boring.
Words are symbolic. They tell me something. How I'm to understand that, I don't know. That's a crucial conversation. Can I find a way to have this conversation about why it is that you prefer to have the television on during this sacred time that you and I have together?
Because I've spent all day with you and I'm sick of looking at you, so you know,
That's a crucial
I
conversation.
mean, you know, people who are together all the time, you know, it's a little different than husband off to work and
There's
wife off to
something-
work.
there's
People who
something
are together
about-
all day.
And there's something about us being able to be honest with one another.
Yeah.
And to be able to explore what all that means. So that maybe I don't take it personally. You know, we've been together all day and I just need a little space.
Oh, cool.
Let's come back. Next week when we start unpacking differences between people, we start talking about them more seriously, because some of the gender differences. John Gray wrote a book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. We'll unpack that next week. Simply saying that men and women have different ways, for instance, of decompressing at the end of the day. We'll see that, for instance, women, and I hate to stereotype, but John Gray says that women tend to enjoy debriefing their day and telling you about what happened. Men tend to prefer to go into their man cave and just enjoy some time alone. There's a conflict. You see the potential conflict, right? Right? He's watching the television and
Talking to the television.
this is what you hear. This is what you've heard, right? That there are certain...
No, he talks to
That's all right, we all do. Not exactly to the television, but to who is on
the
the
team
television.
up.
That's crazy, man.
He does.
Active listening. Tie all of this back to active listening, right? How is it then that we practice active listening in our daily encounters? All the people that you've seen so far today and all the people you'll see later tonight, how do you practice active listening with every one of them? And how do you meet your own needs too? Because let's just be honest, okay? There's someone who's looking for you to be an active listener, but you just can't do that right now, okay? How do you manage that situation? I suspect people like John Gray are going to tell us how we manage those sorts of situations. And I got to imagine many marriages have stayed together because they've learned how to manage these things. I'm feeling the jabs in the room here.
When we go to bed, that's the time to talk. Listen.
I always tell her.
Before he starts snoring.
This
Tanya, are you listening to me?
All right.
In the ideal world, what I'm hearing Mario say is, in the ideal world, there would be some time, whether that's when we're in bed together, or whether that's when we're having meals together, or whenever that is, that there would be ideal time where we would be able to talk and have especially crucial conversations. That there could be a time and a place for these things.
But it's like I say, if people are together a lot of the day, or 3/4 of the day, you know, like retired people and whatever, and they stay at home and, you know, you do your little odd things and wifey cooks and maybe talks and, you know, hubby is out there doing stuff, all right. But you're together most of the day. You are talking all the day, like you'll ask him something or he'll tell you something he's doing. So then in the evening, a lot of times, yes, a lot of times people sit down and turn on the TV. They have been talking all day. In some way.
I think only those two people can answer that. That's to say, because
Right.
it depends on the needs of the person.
Yeah.
Some people have the need to talk a little less than one another. Some people have the need to talk a little more.
And some people
So-
sometimes don't have to talk at all.
So how do you meet one another's needs in relationship, right? How are we getting along in this relationship? Are the needs of both of us being met?
Exactly. Well, that is between
Those people, that's right.
But there has to be a way that they can talk about things like a problem.
That would be, ideally, there are ways for us to have those crucial conversations, those conversations we would just as soon not have.
I
Isn't it
need
true?
to talk to you about
Oh,
something.
boy. Those crucial conversations?
What?
We'll come back to that. It's like the delayed gratification that we'll hear about later this evening. Sometimes we prefer, if we sense that it's going to be uneasy, uncomfortable, painful, then we just prefer not to tackle it. Right? That conversation that I'd love to have with that person that I love, I'm just going to sweep it under the rug for now and not have a conversation. I suspect all of us are tempted at times not to have those crucial conversations. It's easy, it's tempting not to. It's easier for us both to ignore it, the elephant in the room, right? Not talk about it. It's human.
But doesn't that sometimes change your mentality sometimes because I have to talk to you about something? Yeah, you back away, but then your mind starts to turn and say, I wonder what they have to say.
It's probably important. If this person says, I'd like to
I
talk,
really need to talk to you.
I really need to
about
talk.
something.
Then that's probably, words are symbolic. That's telling you that person, whatever that person is about to say, it's important for that
Sometimes
person.
your own self-consciousness, if you're in a relationship, your own self-conscious is like, okay, what did I do? Did I do something? Think about what I did all day long today. Okay, let's just talk.
The defenses go up, right? Oh no,
Yeah.
right? When as soon as you say those words, we need to talk, whoa, defenses go up. About what? Right?
Well, it's nothing bad. I want to talk to you about the
But,
Oh, man.